dependable and he's loyal. Rupa Goswami explains this dependability, that even the demons can depend on Krishna. And they know if they follow the rules of the Shastra, that Krishna will not bother them. Just like there's a heavenly planet for pious demons. You know, we don't have a religion where we say, God says, believe in me, you have this wonderful life where everybody starts out at a different place and you have completely different advantages and disadvantages, totally unfair odds, right? Do any of us here have exactly the same odds, materially or even spiritually? And okay, but if you believe in me, heaven eternally, and if you don't believe in me, hell eternally. You know, that's not our philosophy. We say that there's laws of nature, and if you follow the laws, even if you're a demon, you get good results. And if you break the laws, even if you're a believer in God, you know, still you have to suffer, even if you're a good person, like King Raghu, who became a lizard. So Krishna is very dependable. He's very loyal. Lord Nrsingadev says, one time you surrender to me, you become my ward. From that moment on, you're under my protection. You know, the same thing Lord Ramachandra says. Anyone who surrenders to me, like when Vibhishan came and Hanuman was saying, yeah, I think he's good, but the other monkeys were saying, no, he's the brother of the enemy. If he could run away from his own brother, he'll run away from you too. And Ramachandra said, doesn't matter. One time someone says, I surrender, I'm there for him. So that's the concept of marriage. For better, for worse, you know, in sickness or in health, rich or poor, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to be there for you. And we're going to have children in that atmosphere. And that vow reminds us of Krishna, because the marriage vow, of course, is not eternal, is it? Even if you're there for the person your whole life, you know, next life, who knows where you're going to be, what you're going to do. But Krishna is there for us forever. He's there for us forever. And the children, the fruit of devotional service, grow through this commitment. When we take our vows of initiation and we say, Krishna, I'm there for you, he says, you know, I'm going to be there for you too. And even if you mess up, I'm still there for you. Not, okay, you messed up, all right, Krishna says, no, I want a divorce. No. If you messed up, I'm still there. All right, now the next thing, of course, after marriage is the actual union of the husband and wife to produce motherhood. And this reminds us in Bhagavad Gita 10:28, where Krishna says, for causeless appropriation I am Mandarpa, the god of love. So, of course, when children are produced in the union of a properly married husband and wife, there should be love. It should be a union of love, not just a meeting of two bodies. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said the earthly rasa is just sensory, that heavenly rasa is emotional, and then there's, of course, the spiritual rasa. So in the union of husband and wife in Krishna consciousness, they should all be there. And one should be realizing, and Prabhupada says this union of husband and wife, that it's also a yajna. He says it's like offering prasadam. We offer the prasadam and we relish the prasadam. So the husband and wife should relish this giving of their bodies in sacrifice to the Lord. And this love between the husband and wife, especially, particularly in that act. Why are we so attracted to sexual intercourse? Well, we get this sort of a chintabeta beta tattva, don't we? The oneness and difference. Right? The Bible says the two become one. Actually, even biologically, anyone you have a relationship like this with, you carry their DNA in your brain and in your blood for the rest of your life. Did you know? You carry a little piece of them around with you. It's not just some casual thing. You actually become with, but still you remain, you keep that identity. So this, of course, reminds us this is Krishna's relationship with the living entity, where we're one with him. Prabhupada talks about the oneness a lot in this purport. And yet we are different living entities. One gives oneself totally to the other, and yet one is still distinct. And there we find, of course, pleasure. We are Anandamaya Vyasat. And this pleasure is described nicely in the Bhagavatam. That is coming from Krishna. It's not simply something mechanical. The demons say, oh, it's all mechanical. It's all just, you know, some chemicals. No, it's not just some chemicals. It's Krishna. He is the taste. He is the pleasure. And therefore it should be offered to him. It should be really a union of the husband and wife offering to Krishna. Just like we join together to cook in the kitchen for Krishna, we join together on the Sankirtan garden. And Prabhupada says, if done in the proper consciousness, one can see Krishna. It's not just it doesn't have to be some material, mechanical thing. And then we think of the pregnancy. So pregnancy is very interesting. Those of you who've been pregnant. It's quite an interesting phenomenon because although you appear to be walking in the world and acting in the world like anyone else, your consciousness is not the same. You're constantly thinking of the child in the womb, constantly, all the time. You're thinking, am I eating the right thing? Am I thinking the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I pleasing my child? Am I pleasing my child? This is the way the devotee is supposed to act in the world for Krishna. They're supposed to be acting in the world as if they're an ordinary person in the world. Rupa Goswami gives the example of the unfaithful wife, who's acting in the household, always thinking about her beloved. But this is something all pregnant women experience. That everything they do, they're thinking, how will this please my child? How will this please my child? Yesterday, one gentleman who's a medical doctor was asking Jayadvaita Maharaj about how do I offer my medical service to Krishna. And whatever we're doing, this is one way. I was just reading in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya that Srila Prabhupada was saying that even the beginner in Krishna consciousness, it should always be thinking, according to Bhagavad Gita 12:13 through 20. One who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego, who is equal in happiness and distress. One for whom others are not put into difficulty, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is not attached to any residence, always engaged in devotional service. So in this way, whatever we are doing in this world, which so nicely Jayadvaita Maharaj explained yesterday, we're not really doing, as Krishna says in the 5th and 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We're not really opening, closing our eyes, evacuating, eating, sleeping, talking. That's just really we're the observer. But what should we, the real we, be doing is how am I pleasing Krishna here? 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 We should be pregnant with Krishna. How am I pleasing Krishna here? Our little secret consciousness going on. And of course, pregnancy reminds us of how Krishna is pregnant with the whole universe. Yes? So Mother Yasoda looks in his mouth and she sees that he's carrying around the whole universe. And Lord Brahma says this to Krishna. He says, I'm seeing and talking to you outside, but we're all inside your belly. You want to think about that for a minute? How we're all right now inside of Krishna's belly? That means he's also thinking about us, isn't it? Like the mother is always thinking of her child. Krishna says, I'm the mother. He's carrying us in his belly. And he's always meditating on us and our welfare. And of course, when the mother is pregnant, as we talked about Atmanivedanam, so pregnancy is a very intense Atmanivedanam. I met one woman one time who told me the reason she had an abortion was that she couldn't tolerate the fact that there was this parasitic living entity sucking her food and her life air, and she just wanted to kill it. Okay. So this is you're really giving your body, you're actually really, talk about giving our body in service. I'm sorry guys, but I really want to say that I think we women have a big advantage in motherhood as far as, I really believe this very strongly, that going through the process of motherhood as a service teaches us things about surrender that it's really hard to learn any other way. It's one thing to be surrendered, living in a van, distributing books, and, taking showers at a truck stop and sleeping around the mall. That's one kind of surrender your body. But you know what? Carrying a baby around and giving that baby your body is a whole different level. You're really making your body home for another living entity. And everything you're doing has to be for that living entity. And you're thinking, Krishna, I'm giving this living entity a home. Just like we may run an ashram, or we may have an ashram in our home, or some people make their home into a temple, and somebody's staying in their home. But it's quite a different level to have somebody staying in your body. I'll give you my spare guest room, Or I'll give up my own bedroom. We stayed in a family who said, when sannyasis come, we give them our master bedroom, we stay in this other room, but giving them your body to hang out in. And Krishna, of course, is letting us all stay in his form. His permanent guest in his form. And then what about labor and childbirth? So I really feel again, myself, in my experience, that labor and childbirth is such an amazing opportunity to realize the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. I remember when I was in labor with my daughter, it was in the 55th Street Temple. She used to say how when she would hear that as a kid, she thought like I gave birth to her in the temple room. It was upstairs. But I was meditating on Radha Govinda. Actually, I was meditating on Govinda's belt. And he has this belt, which on anyone else would look rather gaudy, frankly. It was round beads, and I can still see it. These 3 strands of beads and then beads coming down. And I was just meditating on Govinda's belt. And there was no pain from the labor in that way. And I just thought, oh, this is so interesting. And the ladies were, I don't know if any of you were there, all the ladies were having a big kirtan outside the room. And some years later I read in the Mahabharata about how the Kurus released the Narayana weapon against the Pandavas. The Narayana weapon is coming. And Krishna says to everybody, lie down. Put down your weapons and lie down. Don't resist. And everybody did, except said, I'm not putting down my weapons and lying down for anybody. No, Krishna says, put down your weapons and lie down. If you fight, you make it stronger. Anyway, finally, Krishna pulls down Bhima and he lies down, and then the Narayana weapon goes over. Well, my dear friends, that is labor. When you fight it, it gets stronger, it overwhelms you, and you're just like, oh my God, this is the most hellish experience in the universe. And when you just say, I accept. I accept. Take my body, use it, I accept. I let go. Krishna, I am yours. Then there's no pain at all. And it becomes a transcendental spiritual experience. And this is some little idea of when we say, just like this gentleman also asked yesterday, why is there suffering for devotees? And Maharaj answered, the devotee doesn't identify with the body and mind, and therefore there's no suffering. When the devotee identifies and meditates on Krishna, they notice what goes on in the world. One notices, oh, my body's giving birth to a baby, but there's no distress. It's simply interesting. So it's just like that. Oh, that's interesting. Like Krishna says, many rivers are flowing to the ocean, which is always being full, but is never overflowing. And of course, the labor that the woman goes through to give birth also reminds us of how Krishna comes, yada yada yudharmasya admani bhavati bhavata, vishnam dharmasya atidatmanam srujam purichanayasa, vinashaya chiduskutam dharmasar sambhavani yuge yuge. And Prabhupada said he was shedding gallons of blood for each devotee. Right? An ordinary mother having an ordinary baby is going through so much trouble and risk. Labor, birth is a risk. And Krishna and the pure devotees, they come and they go through so much trouble. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he goes to Varanasi and he says, I'm carrying this burden of love of God, but nobody here can pay the price. What will I do? There's so much difficulty. Or Lord Nityananda would take so much difficulty to preach to Jagai and Madai. Even being willing to be hit and trying to be killed. When we think of the woman giving birth, we can think of the efforts of the Lord to give birth to Krishna consciousness in the heart of the conditioned soul. To give them an opportunity. Even the whole maintenance of the universe is like that. And then the mother is feeding the baby again from her own body. And that may seem very romantic, and perhaps it has its romantic aspects, but it's not just romantic. It really isn't, you know. So you're giving birth to this baby, and they're passing stool and urine in your bed, and you have sour milk all over. You're lying in this ocean of sour milk and stool and urine. It really is not particularly romantic. And then you have to be there all the time. I mean, you know, it's not like you just cook a meal and you say it's in the freezer. You know. Again, you're giving your body, you have to be there, you know, 10 times a day for a half an hour to an hour and a half a day. Available. Here I am to feed you from my own body. And again, you have to think about what you're eating and what you're doing to give to another living entity. So Krishna is also supplying us all the time, right? And the little baby has no awareness that someone else is sacrificing for them. They hardly understand even that here's another living entity. They're just in anamoya consciousness. They're not even in pranamoya consciousness. It's at least 6 weeks before they even smile at you. You know, you're just giving, and all the person does is complain. And this reminds us of Krishna. He's giving. He's giving us our breath at every moment. Every moment. He's our intelligence. He's our ability. He's our life breath. He's our fire of digestion. He's the light of the sun, the light of the moon. He's the heat and fire, the heat in our body. Supplying. Eko bahunam yovedadati kama. Giving. And we often don't even acknowledge that he's there. Oh, good, here's my milk supply. Here's my air supply. Here's my food supply. Here's my... Greg Mars was speaking in his seminar yesterday. Most people just go around their life with no consciousness of God at all. Even people who say they believe in God. They get up, they make their breakfast, they drink their coffee, they go to work. Right? They come home, they watch their football game, they have their dinner, they drink their beer, they go to bed. Nothing about God. When we were working on our children's book series, we looked through dozens and dozens and dozens of English teaching books from all the English-speaking countries of the world. And the most notable absence was God. He just wasn't there. He just wasn't there. There's just no God. There was some multicultural. I mean, there was some Indian family lighting lamps to no one for a dwelling. You know, just wasn't there. I remember one of my god sisters saying to me, we went to distribute books in a mall one time and there was some music playing and she said, everyone be happy, forget about God. God is irrelevant. I'm just getting all this maintenance somehow. You know, it's somehow just there. The air is just there. I didn't even think about it. Of course the air is there. Well, it's supposed to be there. I deserve it. How could it not be there? Of course the sun is there. It's supposed to be there. It's there for me. Who's there? I don't know. Who cares? So Krishna is here as the mother, just giving and giving and giving. And also, the milk, we can think of how Krishna is the taste of all liquids. Right? Rasoham apsukanteya. The mother feeding her baby, that Krishna is this. The baby's thinking, oh, this is an ambrosial beverage. But anything that we drink, any taste of anything actually, has liquid. Right? Even to touch something, our skin has to have oil. To see something, our eyes have to have water. We think all of our senses, there's some liquid involved in this rasa, in this taste. Like remind us of Krishna. Krishna says also that he's the medicinal herb. And in the mother's milk are all of the antibodies, and immunity is being passed from the mother to the baby. Do you know that the mother's milk will even be different depending on whether she has a male or a female child? Isn't that amazing? And how each kind of milk is perfectly suited for that kind of body. You know, the dolphin's milk is just right for the dolphin, and the goat milk is just right for the goat. Do you know that if scientists could turn cow's milk into human's milk, they would make billions of dollars. I mean, the formula industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but they can't duplicate human milk. They cannot turn one kind of milk into another. You know, I once read a Christian talking about evolution, and he said the two hemispheres of the brains of all the scientists are not as competent as the two breasts of a woman. And then they want to say, we're going to create life. Now you can't even turn one kind of milk into another, and you want to create life. Prabhupada also talked about milk making as a mystic power. You know, I meditate on this a lot when I drink cow's milk, how the sun makes the grass, right? The grass is made of sunlight and water, and the cow turns this grass into milk. Somehow the sunlight turns into milk. And how do we do that? How does the mother has no idea how she's doing that? How is, you know, like how am I turning the chapati into fingernails? I have no idea. And then, you know, the sunlight makes the wheat, which gets turned into the chapati. Then we turn it into milk. Our babies get this liquid milk, liquid light from the sun. And Krishna says he is the light of the sun. And somehow light is being transformed into food, into blood and perspiration, and into milk. Unbelievable. And into the body of the child. And as the baby's drinking, also we meditate how Krishna is the fire of digestion. And even all the food that the mother's eating. Krishna says, right, in Bhagavatam 8:7-28, the plants are the hairs of the Lord. The mountains are the bones of the Lord. And we can remember how, just like the mother's feeding the baby with her own body, so Krishna is actually feeding us with his own body. We're eating the plants, we're eating the hairs of the Lord. And then the mother is the epitome of selflessness. Prabhupada said that's the closest thing we have to real love, is the mother's love. In the animal kingdom, generally, depending on the animal, some animals are not particularly good parents, but generally speaking, the maternal instinct is higher than the sexual instinct. And animals will sacrifice their own life to protect their young. And we can think about how Krishna also, he has this pure love for us. He's the well-wishing friend. Right? And again, he's there regardless. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He's always there for us, even if we're rebellious. And the care the mother gives to the child, the mother is thinking about all of the child's needs. Food and clothing and shelter and toys and friends. And of course, the father also is doing this. The parents in general, they're thinking about how can I supply all the needs to my child. And the child doesn't need to think themselves. The child doesn't need to think, how will I eat? You know, how will I get clothes? How will I get friends? How will I get toys? The parents just supply. All the child has to do is think of being a good child. So Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita 2:45. Nir yoga kshema atmavan. Give up all anxieties for care and safety. Just be established in the self. Just take care of my business, Krishna says, and I'll take care of you. Right? 9:22. Yoga kshema vahamyaham. Nir yoga kshema atmavan. Yoga kshema vahamyaham. Just think about the spirituality and I'll take care of you. The child doesn't need to go to the mother and, Mommy, will you feed me? I mean, unless she's a crack addict or something. You know? Will you give me clothes, Mom? Mommy, will you give me clothes? Will there be any clothes in my drawer? Will you buy me any toys? You don't have to ask. You don't have to ask. This is the idea of Dayabhak. One inherits the kingdom of God just by being faithful. So when we see the parents taking care of the children, we can think, Krishna is taking care of me. My only business is to do Krishna service. I have no other business. I do not need to take care of myself. I do not need to take care of any other living entity. Anything but Krishna service. Now, Krishna may give me a service of taking care of my body or taking care of another living entity, but that's my service. Krishna says, do the service, we do it. Krishna says, stop doing it, kill your grandfather on the battlefield, then that's our service. Krishna says, take care of your body, that's our service. Krishna says, as he did to Dadichi, stop taking care of your body, okay? That's my service. And Krishna's taking care. And Krishna knows perfectly, better than any mother. No mother perfectly knows what the child wants. Would you like this? No. Would you like this? No. Would you like this? No. What do you want? But Krishna knows. We may get frustrated with our material mothers. Krishna. And everything he gives is perfect. And the mothers and fathers, they provide for their children's education. They make sure that the children are competent to live in the world. And this reminds us how Krishna, as the mother, is also educating. He gives us perfect instruction. He even allows us to forget things. Isn't that kind? Aren't there a lot of things we're glad we have forgotten? Krishna is giving us intelligence. Prabhupada says in those purports that even if you don't take advantage of the instructions of your guru and the guru's books, if you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna will enlighten you from within. Now, if you try to be truant and run away from his school, you know what? He's going to drag you back. He's very good at that. Krishna is such an expert teacher. I mean, we see the mother reading books to her child bedtime. In the forest, Krishna would take the dal and rice and chapatis from the counter boys and give them the samosas and the pakoras. That is a very motherly thing to do. And Krishna is not envious. Krishna just wants to give and give and give and give and give. And of course, the mother is always the mother, father is always the father. Ravinda Sri Prabhu said this the other day in his class. You know, once you have a child, that's it. And we're eternally, we are eternally part and parcel of Krishna. I read once about this man who was a police chief, and when he was hunting down a serial killer, it turned out the serial killer was his own son. And when his son was put in jail, he was writing about it, and he says, as a police officer, I was happy, and as a father, I was heartbroken. He said, and still, he's still my son. He should be in jail, but he's still my son. So this is the love of the parents, just like Draupadi, when Ashwatthama killed all of her children. And then he was presented before her, and she said, let not his mother cry like me. Because she knew that even though Ashwatthama had committed heinous sinful activities, that still his mother had love. So Krishna has this love always for the living entities. Ishwar Sarvabhutanam Rideshya Jyotisthiti Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantrudradhamaya. Wherever we go, Franz Kafka has his story, Metamorphosis, where this man turns into a giant cockroach and everybody rejects him. But even if we take birth as a cockroach, Krishna loves us. Oh, there's my child. There's my part and parcel. Krishna finds us fascinating. I was giving a talk once when there was a woman with a 1-month-old baby, and she was looking at the baby's toes through my whole class. And I was thinking, I'm sure she's seen her baby's toes many times. But because there was love, she was fascinated. So Krishna finds us fascinating. Eternally. He's eternally fascinated by us, our particular individuality, our particular nature, our particular relationship with him. And he feels that we're important. Yesterday, Jayadurja Maharaj was talking about the empty, valueless, meaningless life of illusion. It was a very depressing, everybody, let's take sannyas class. You know, during this class I thought, boy, I really got to take sannyas. Now. But to Krishna, we all have value and meaning. All of us. We're very little specks. Very, very little specks. What are we? You know, I got this nice flower. Right? Beautiful flower. But what will it be tomorrow? We're like that.
live for a day. Gurjan Prabhu calculated 8 billionths of a second of Lord Brahma is the span of each of our lives. We want to be a billionaire for 8 billionths of a second. You know, it's silly, isn't it? And no meaning. We're just like a little grain of sand on the beach. Satyarashri was saying, you know, we'll be a footnote in someone's book. But even that book won't, it'll get out of print, you know. And somebody will look and say, what's this footnote? Satyarashri was that hard, you know. I give the example all the time, right? How many of you know all the names of your great-great-grandparents? Anyone here know all the names of their great-great-grandparents? So that means our grandchildren's grandchildren will have forgotten our names. What value do we have? What change can we make in the world? We do a lot of work at Govardhan Radhakund Shamakund with a lot of restoration and cleaning. So there's other groups also that do that kind of work, and there's one group that did a whole cleaning at Sankarshan Kund at Govardhan. I think they spent $2 million American dollars, which is a lot of money in America, what to speak of a lot of money at Govardhan. And they totally drained the Kund, restored the whole thing, put in clean water, I mean, fixed up everything, gorgeous. And you look at it now, and it looks worse than their before pictures. So I talked to the person in charge of it, and he said, well, you know, they had a big fanfare. A big program, big pandal, invited all these dignitaries. We are cleaning Sankarshan Kund. We have all this international money and all these movie stars and politicians. So they did all this work, big equipment, and the local people said, hey, you got all that money. What about us? We don't have clean drinking water, we don't have sewage systems, we don't have stable electricity. You got all this money, take care of us. And they said, well, we're an NGO, we're not the government, we can't give you water and sewage and electricity. All we can do is fix up Sankarshan. They said, okay. They diverted their sewage pipes into the Kund. And they made a campaign in the area that everyone should intentionally throw their trash in the Kund. So how important are we? We do something, we work hard, we give our effort, and someone else comes and trashes it. We build something, money, effort, grand opening ceremony, and someone else brings a wrecking ball. And just the sands of time. What is our value? But to Krishna we have value. Everything we do in relation to Krishna has value. He's even paying attention and recording and noticing and listening to all the stupid, foolish, illusory stuff that goes on in our head. Imagine. He's the only one who's paying attention. Even we're not paying attention to everything we do. But he is. And as soon as we say Krishna, Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, Matsya, even if we say I'm going to the Cinerama, he goes, oh! Every little bit of water. Vajram pushpam palamtram. Oh, you're giving me water? You know, some of us have on our altars little teeny tiny cups of water, yes? Do any of you have on your altar a little teeny tiny cup of water? Really, really tiny. You know, it fits like maybe 3 drops in it. I forget where I was. I was someplace where they had an altar. The cups were so small. There was 1 milliliter of water in those cups, you know? Is there water in there or not? And Krishna takes it. He took 1 grain of not nice rice from Sridham, and he goes, oh, the whole creation is now satisfied. Krishna values us. He finds us fascinating. He thinks we're important. He misses us. He misses us. He says to Gopal Kumar, you finally come. He said, for so many of your lifetimes I was dancing like a fool, thinking, in this lifetime, in this lifetime, in this, will he say my name once? Will he think of me once? Will he do anything for me? I mean, an ordinary mother thinks like that too. When will you call? And Krishna said, you know, I didn't want to break the laws of karma, but I wanted to see you again, so I arranged for you to take birth in Govardhan. So to Krishna, we're important. And we're important to our mothers, but you know, in our next life, they won't even remember that they were mothers. Maybe in this life, my mother was dying. I spent the last 3 weeks with her in the nursing home. I talked to one of the residents and I said, so are you married? I think you're married. I don't remember. I said, do you have any children? Yeah, I do. I have 3, 2. I don't remember. An ordinary mother may forget us, but Krishna doesn't forget. And to Krishna we're always valuable. And Krishna has our back. You know, one of the heaviest things for me after my mother died, a year later my father died. I mean, I was fully an adult. It was only about 12 years ago. But still, you know, you always think, well, mommy and daddy, they're there for me, right? If they ever throw me out of the Hare Krishna movement, I can always go home to mommy and daddy. And I need something. Oh, mommy, daddy, help me. And then they were not. But Krishna's always there. Aham tvam sarva papabhyo mokshishami vasudha. I'm there for you, he says. I have your back. So he's the best mother, the best mother. Always has our back. Whatever we go through, he's always there. So we went through the whole span of motherhood, from the wedding to the intercourse, to the pregnancy, to the labor, to the birth, to the breastfeeding, to the care, to the education, to the maturing, to maybe the problems. And we tried to see in each of these steps of motherhood where there is Krishna. The devotees, as they advance in Krishna consciousness, they see things as udipans, or stimulus for their love of Krishna. So we should see everything in this world as a stimulus. So now I want to go on to something perhaps even more nectarian. I'd like to think of pastimes of the Lord. Pastimes of the Lord related to either him being mothered or being like a mother. So I'd like to ask you for suggestions of the Lord's Leela in the material world or the spiritual world. Some ideas? Yes. Putana, okay. Where Krishna, just by drinking her milk, said she becomes my mother even though she wanted to kill him. Very nice. Or pastimes of the Lord, where either he's being mothered or he's mothering. Yes. Oh, and the Brahmin's wives gave him the food and he was being mothered by them. Very nice. Some more. Yes. Oh, Lord Nrsingadev, that's more paternal than maternal. But he was licking him all over like mother cat licks her babies. Some more. I mean, these are good things to think of whenever you see. We all see mothers, right, in our lives? Everybody sees mothers? Unless you live up in the Himalayas or something, in the middle of the snow. Oh, supplying the cloth to Draupadi, yes, as a caregiver. Very nice, like the parents supply cloth for their children. Some more.
Shabri.
What?
Shabri giving the duty rate.
Shabri giving the food and she tasted it first. That's a very motherly thing to do, isn't it? Does a mother would do that, taste the food first and give it to the child? Yes?
Damodar.
Damodar. Krishna being mothered and even being corrected by his mother. And he was enjoying this, you know? Krishna enjoys having his mother punish him. Just amazing. Yes? Oh, where Krishna expands himself as all the coward boys, and he became literally, actually the child of all of those mothers and fathers. Yes?
Fruit selling lady. The fruit selling lady.
The fruit selling lady, yes, she was also very motherly, giving Krishna all of her fruits, and then Krishna gave her all reward. She actually wasn't interested in those jewels, but she became absorbed in prema and gave up her body there in Vrindavan. Yes. Where Krishna is passing out to all the cowherd boyfriends all the food that they like, yes. Lord Chaitanya does that too. He gives all the devotees their favorite food, yes. Mohini Murti, I don't know, she was very motherly. But she had a little different mood than being motherly. I don't think she was in a motherly mood. But it's interesting with the favorite food. You know, that's what the mothers, they go into the kitchen and thinking, what do my children like to eat? Yes? What do my children like to eat? So Lord Chaitanya and Krishna, they're always thinking, what do the devotees, what's their favorite food? They give everyone their favorite food. Yes? Lord Chaitanya at the Panihati festival. Do you know that Lord Chaitanya actually once manifested the form of Lakshmi and gave milk to all the devotees? Lord Chaitanya Bhagavan. Lord Chaitanya's mother. What about Mahavishnu? Right? He has a lotus umbilical cord. He has a kind of strange pregnancy, isn't it? He has a lotus umbilical cord, and his son Brahma is born, so he's both the mother and the father. Yes?
Lord Kapila Dev and his mother.
Oh, Kapila Dev and Devahuti, how he takes care of his mother. He instructs his mother. He's a well-wisher materially and spiritually. Yes?
Dhruva's mother.
Dhruva's mother. Oh, what a wonderful story. Right? The Dhruva's mother, she says, you know, you go find Krishna, and then Dhruva has such love for his mother that he took her back to home, back to Godhead.
There's more. She said he has the affection of millions of mothers.
Oh.
That's where you need to go.
Oh, that is wonderful. Where Suniti says to Dhruva, I love you as a mother, but go take shelter of the Lord because he has the affection of millions of mothers. You know, we don't all have perfect relationships with our mothers, I'm sure. But still, hopefully, there's some sense of going home. The sense of going home and being with mommy. You know, my mommy is there. So just, we can maybe imagine going home to the Lord who has the affection of millions and millions and millions of mothers. And what is our real home? Now, of course, externally in this world, we can do our service of motherhood. I'd like to see motherhood more, how should we say, facilitated in the Hare Krishna movement. I find it ironic that we say, you know, women are glorified as mothers, but I'd like to see more help with motherhood for everything. Help for people finding a good spouse. I see too many people, 35, 38, they want to get married, no one's helping them. Help for people to have proper dealings with their sexual desires in marriage. Help for people in pregnancy and labor and birth. More schools for our children. A real welcoming of our children. Seeing that children are a blessing. Having children as part of the society. Even today in India, there's not an adult society and a child society. Very much in the West, the children have to be taken care of while the adults do what they're going to do. Children are a burden. Prabhupada wanted the children included in what the adults are doing. And sociologically, there's never been a religion that prospered simply by making
birthday. It will probably be the biggest cake she ever received.